So we are coming to an important slide that talks about the differentiation between the extradural pathology, which my teaching says is mainly to the vertebral level. Intradural extramedullary is anything related to the nerve root or its sheath, and intramedullary, which is mainly the spinal cord, the spinal tissue. So, sir, how do you differentiate, and what key points one should keep in mind while coming to a diagnosis?
Absolutely right. The extradural pathology is mainly involved with the vertebral column, like infective pathology, like in tuberculosis of the spine, pyogenic osteomyelitis. However, you can have a presentation of extradural granuloma in tuberculosis, which may not give you an involvement of the vertebral column. You can have epidural abscesses at times, which will be, of course, involvement with the vertebral column. And so far as intradural and extramedullary are concerned, normally they are with the nerve root. And you have meningiomas, you have nerve sheath tumor, but when the nerve sheath tumor enlarges and become wider, this is start encroaching onto the vertebral column, and you find widening of the intervertebral foramen. And that time you may also start having further destruction if the disease goes on. However, in intramedullary tumors, there is hardly any involvement of the vertebral column as such. And most of the conditions that you have in intramedullary are intramedullary tumors like astrocytomas, gliomas, and infective pathology like tuberculoma of the spine.
Sir, your word on it. The differentiation between extradural, intradural, extramedullary, intramedullary.
Intradural extramedullary. In the earlier stage, they will give unilateral symptoms, but as the mass keeps on increasing, you will get bilateral symptoms. Extradural will predominantly stay with unilateral symptoms. But if it is intradural, they may stay in unilateral symptoms for a short while. But if the tumor keeps on, mass or tumor or space occupying lesion keeps on increasing, very soon you will get bilateral symptoms. And that can be the difference between extradural lesions and intradural lesions. But do keep it in mind, extradural lesion in a country like ours can be extradural tuberculous granulomatous, which can be generalized. Extradural tuberculoma, localized. Extradural infection, like an epidural pyogenic infection. I think then they, of course, if it is a generalized infection, extended extradural granuloma, they will produce more or less bilateral symptoms.
And bladder and bowel involvement would be relatively early in intradural extramedullary and intramedullary tumors. While in extradural they are the late. Yeah. They come late, unless there is a massive disc prolapse in the caudai equina region.
I think the bladder involvement, I don't think it is so mathematical in bladder involvement. However, shortest duration sphincter involvement would take place in intramedullary lesions. In extramedullary lesions, it will take a longer while to show you the sphincter signs. And then extradural lesions, again, it will be a late phenomenon for the involvement of the sphincters.
So late, longer, short.
Yeah, short, late, long. Yeah. That sort of thing. In general, these are all generalizations.
Right. And so far as trophic changes are concerned, they are possibly relatively early in intramedullary conditions?
Yeah. Predominantly, trophic changes are predominantly based upon your sensations. If your sensations get involved, then only you start getting trophic changes. While we are on this one, it may be unrelated, but there are so many deformities of the vertebral column which don't produce any signs.
Right.
As students, we should understand why that the deformity may be as severe a deformity as 90-degree and the patient has no symptoms. Patient is still walking. So basically, if things happen suddenly, a deformity occurs suddenly, the tumor mass grows suddenly, the symptoms would be severe neurologically. Even the symptoms would be severe regarding sphincters as well. However, if it is a slow process of progression of the disease, slow process of a deformation, there is so much of compensation taking place by neuronal plasticity in the columns. If deformity is taking place in a very, very slow manner, our neuronal plasticity of the long columns in the vertebral column, they take over the function of those columns which are destroyed or damaged. But this capacity of plasticity is not possible if it's a sudden change or a quick change.
Right. Just like it takes place in a trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma is just sudden.
It is sudden.
So you get all the involvement, all the modalities involved at a given time.
Right.
While an insidious process, slow process. Right.
As students, I think we can see many a time the patient has a deformity of 90 degrees and he's still walking, no symptoms. And all this happens just because the damaged columns have been compensated by plasticity of the unused columns.
Yes.
Now think of it, brain. We are using only 20% of the brain. If the damage takes place slowly, the remaining part of the neurons are going to take over because of neuronal plasticity. Same neuronal plasticity has the power of compensation in the vertebral column as well.
Right.
It may not be related to this exercise, but I think as students we should know it, that this can happen or this is happening.
So when it is being talked about the spine cord occupancy, it has a very little value. It has some value, of course, but when you look at your patient, particularly in infective lesions, the cord occupancy we say, is hardly 30%. But in comparison to that, the neural signs are hardly any.
But
so
the compensation by neuronal plasticity also goes on for many years. But a time comes when further plasticity is not possible because the columns have been finished.
Right.
It is so-called late onset paraplegia associated with severe deformities. They ultimately start showing the neural signs, say after 20 years, maybe even 30 years after. By that time, the long columns which had the potential of plasticity, they have also been finished. This is why you start getting very late onset neural signs.